Hello, this is part 2 of my video about perfectionism. And in this video, I'm going to talk about perfectionism from the standpoint of lifespan development. So constructs like perfectionism, or pretty much anything that has to do with human beings, are things that are learned over a long span of development. A lot of times we'll be reading research and the researchers will be very disappointed because their maybe 2-week intervention to address perfectionism didn't have a large effect. Well, things like a 2-week intervention are not going to have a huge effect because we learn our behaviors over our lifetime. So this bit of advice that I've used in my own parenting that is congruent with research on motivation and human development and psychology, and it is also based on a history in my own family about raising kids. So perfectionism usually first starts to rear its head early on when a child is first starting to create products, usually drawings. So most parents have encountered frustration from a toddler when what they have drawn is not exactly what they had imagined. So this is where you start. You start by explaining that any one product, so it's something that you do across your life, is not just a it doesn't exist as something that just pops into your head and then like jumps onto paper. That any kind of experience when a product is produced, that there's multiple elements. So first you talk about what is in their mind. So we have our imagination, things that we can imagine in our minds, ideas that we have, aspirations. And then the next element is our body. So anything that we're going to do is going to start out by being an interaction of our mind and our body. So sometimes there's something in your mind, but your physical body just can't do it yet. So your hand, there's the thing that your hand wants to do. So let's focus on drawing. There's the image in your mind of what you wanted to draw. And then there is what your hand wanted to do. So it's an interaction. The two things cooperate together. So it starts out that anything is going to be part head, part hand, what your body can do. And then you talk about the materials. Sometimes the materials that you're working with, they just either don't do or can't do, or even in a sense don't want to do what you want it to do. Artists talk about this a lot, like what the painting wants to be, what the materials want to be. And so anything that you do is going to be this interaction of the brain, your body, and the materials at hand. Then the next part is time. So we develop skills over time, but also the making of something, a single product, also involves the doing of it over time. So anything that you're going to do, whether it is a little child drawing or your schoolwork as a middle schooler or sports or pretty much just any human endeavor, is going to be this interaction between the person, the body, the place, the process, and time. And all of those things come together. So this relates back to perfectionism because you need to make sure that the child understands that it's not just the product and their vision, that's not how life works, that everything is going to be an interaction among those things. And so sometimes there's going to be a contrast between it. What their mind wants to do and what the materials want to do are not the same. What their mind wants to do and their body can do is not the same. My children often ask me why when I do something that it works out. And I'm always remind them that experience, I have much more experience. So my body and mind has a long set of experiences. And so when I do something, there's that element to it. And if they also continue to practice, then they will get better. There's also time in the sense of just how much time you have to devote to something. Sometimes you just don't have that kind of time, the time that it would take to make that product, the interaction that would be required between the mind, the product, and time just isn't going to work out from a time viewpoint. And then there's also times when the product isn't the actual what you actually get out of the experience. So sometimes it's just the practice of it. So doing sketches, making drawings, practicing writing, journaling, practicing doing, trying to do new math, practicing science. Sometimes it's just the practice of it. Sometimes the actual flow and experience of it is more important than what was in your mind or what the final product was. Sometimes you do things just for the flow of it. And so as a parent, I emphasize that and discuss that with my children from toddlerhood forward. Like, this is your mind and this is what your hand can do. This is what you've experienced. This is what you have practiced. And kind of break that preoccupation with the final product as the thing that was done. I believe this works really well with all children. You need to adjust your vocabulary, of course. It works quite well with bright children who have exceptional cognitive ability, because they can really get into this idea of life being this interaction amongst all of these forces. And it helps with perfectionism because it breaks that connection to just focusing on the product. So I hope that this is helpful. I hope that it is a suggested way of just living your life and interacting with the world, that over time, like repetitively over time, once you reach times of challenge, academic challenge, by the time you reach academic challenge in middle, high school, college, etc., with your children, that they've already established this idea that it's not all about the product or all about their imagination, that there is this cyclical relationship amongst all those factors that contribute to what that life experience is. So if you have additional questions, feel free to email me. I'm Erin Morris Miller, professor at Bridgewater College, now chair of the psychology department. And you can also find me on Twitter at Dr. Erin Cat. I think that's right. And I look forward to having time, which I never do, to make more videos, which I hope will be helpful. Okay, thank you.